Welcome to Event Planning 101. My name is Dan Goodwin. I am the coordinator for student organizations here at UNT, and this is one of our happy hour workshop series. Has anybody been to a workshop before? Okay, so great. Hopefully the next hour, probably less, we're just going to go over some basics when it comes to event planning and some of the things that hopefully you're going to be considering in your future events, and just try to streamline some things for you so it's a little easier. So the overview of the talk today is basics of event planning. We're going to go over some of the UNT policies that you need to be aware of, and just some things to keep in mind before you host an event on campus, or even something as simple as you doing meetings on campus. The marketing and the advertising of the event, as everybody knows in here, it's so important to getting people to actually come to your events. It's one thing to want to hold an event, it's another to try to get people there. It's the Field of Dreams statement that if you build it, they will come. Well, we want people to show up to your events, so that's what we're going to be going over. How to properly fill out an event application. So that is probably the number one thing that I'm asked is, are we doing things correctly on our online event application, and what does this mean, and what does that mean, and why hasn't my event been approved yet, and various other things. And so we want to make sure that you're getting there to the best of your abilities. How to navigate the ESC if called. So ESC is our Event Safety Committee. It's this big bad group of people. And so if you happen to have an event that would be subject to going to ESC, we just want to share with you what that means and what you should look for, and just walk through that process, and then leave it up for time for questions. And I'm sure everybody has some questions, and I would love to field those, just so that everybody in attendance and everybody that's going to be watching this online is benefiting from some of your feedback and some of the things as leaders of your student organizations that are important to you. So we're going to get started. So just an on-campus event snapshot for all of you, and this is just in relation to student events. This may not even consider some of your departmental kinds of things, to alumni events, to faculty, staff kinds of things. These are just on-campus student events, all right? So we're booking roughly, the university is booking roughly 5,000 on-campus events per calendar year. It's a big number, right? And so with that given, there are a few different people on campus that are going to be booking your events. And so that's important to kind of understand, in that if you get an email regarding your event or your meeting, and it's from somebody that you may not recognize, don't just discard it, okay? It's important. We have 8 booking agents on campus, and so what that means is we have 8 people that are scheduling our student events, whether that's classrooms and the person in our office handles that, to events in the BLB, to the Coliseum, to the rec center, etc., auditorium, gateway. All sorts of different people on campus are booking things for you, and so just keep that in mind, that you might be hearing, depending upon where you're having your event or your meeting, you might be hearing from somebody else. We have 400 student organizations that are registered every semester, and all of them are able to book space. And that's on top of academic needs and things of that sort. And so there's a lot of things to sift through, and a lot of competing groups wanting space. So please keep that in mind, that events or your meetings, they can range from 8 people, all right, as little as 8 people, all the way up to 9,000 people if you wanted to book the Coliseum for something. So it ranges in a lot of different spaces that you can book, a lot of different populations that you can serve. Just really kind of depends on the scale of your event, but we do it all. I mean, we'll book from 8 to 9,000. So keep these numbers and these figures in mind as we walk through these processes, because I think it's important to understand the kind of the vastness and the totality of what we're doing here. And that while we love every single one of you and we really want all of your organizations to succeed, it's not just about you and your organization. It's about the 400 others that are here on campus that are wanting equal space to you. So please keep that in mind. So you have to know what you're doing to have a successful event, and everywhere you go, whether it's UNT or somewhere else, everybody's going to have policies. Our policies are really no different than any off-campus entity that you may be interested in dealing with. There are some policies that come with the lay of the land of just being at a university, but it's important to kind of understand what those are. And so the first thing would be the facility usage policies. So every building is going to be a bit different depending upon who you book with, all right? So the library, which we're currently in, they'll have some different facility policies than maybe the BLB has, all right? It could be anywhere from what is their food and drink policy to what is their noise policies, so for music or amplified sound. What are their max requirements? So every building number and space is going to be different as far as your capacity. And capacity is going to be something we're going to talk about in that, if you feel like you're going to have an event that has 100 people, you've got to be really certain that the space you're requesting can accommodate that. We don't want to ever get in a situation where you're going to be booking a space and you go over capacity. That event is going to turn people away or potentially get that shut down, and so we need to be familiarized, and that's where your booking person is going to come in to be able to point you in the right direction of, you want a space for 500 people, well, these are the spaces on campus that can accommodate that. Different facilities have different policies when it comes to the kind of event that you can put on, and so different spaces on campus may not be great for theater productions or groups with so many people coming in and out. Certain buildings on campus are going to be really great for your classrooms, whereas the Gateway Center is going to be really great for your large events. So every facility is going to be different when it comes to that. Some facilities have tables and chairs already in them. So if you book a space at the BLB, they have a certain number of tables and chairs on hand that they may allow you to use without having to contact facility services and rent extra tables and chairs. The Gateway Center is the same way. You're going to have to request those things, and there could be certain charges depending upon where you're going. And so I don't want to surprise anybody by saying that. And so it'll really kind of depend on what your needs are, but every facility is going to have different features to it. One of the things that comes up pretty often, if you're booking one of the classrooms like ESCC and you want 100 people, and so you're going to have one of their lecture rooms, is that you may need amplified sound, so you may need a microphone. And so you'll see your professors maybe having a microphone or some kind of amplified sound. That's not an inherent feature for the buildings, okay? So your professors are most likely contacting classroom support for those things. So if you know that you're going to be in a space, and let's say it's a lecture hall, and you feel like 150 people are going to show up, and you could definitely benefit from some amplified sound, you'll need to mark that in your event application that you're going to need the use of a microphone, and so we'll be pointing you in the right direction on how to reserve that. All right, but just kind of understand that that's not an inherent feature that a lot of the buildings on campus have. Moving on to solicitation policy. So anytime that you're wanting to sell something or raise money for anything, that's going to fall under the solicitation part of it. Okay. And solicitation really isn't as much as you're going to set up a table outside of the library here and just sit at the table and people can come by and maybe you're going to hand out some information and that's it. Hey, come join our organization. That's not really our definition of solicitation. Solicitation would be all right, I'm going to set up the table outside, I'm going to be selling tickets for an upcoming event that we have, or we have a fundraiser going on and you can donate a certain amount of money and you get something in exchange for it. That's going to be more of a solicitation kind of thing, all right? The other part of that is, let's say you had a table and you were actively engaging with people as they were walking by. Hey, come by and here, check this flyer out. Hey, can I stop you for a second? That's when you're actively engaging people away from your table. And so that would be considered more of a solicitation. Keep in mind with any kind of solicitation that as part of your event application, or part of letting us know what you're up to, is filling out a solicitation form. It's very, very simple to fill out. It doesn't take very much time. It can be found in our event and scheduling services office. That's located in Stovall Hall, right next door to where we're at, in Stovall Hall 117. And so they'll give you that form, you'll fill it out, and you'll turn it back in, just so everybody kind of understands what you're going to be doing, all right? So that's the basic level of solicitation. That's a very broad terminology for what that is. More specifically to things, we get a lot of requests hey, can we do a bake sale? That kind of moves into our food policies, which I'll get to here in a little bit. But our common thing is we have some snacks, we want to sell them, we want to raise some money. At the basic level of that, that's what we're talking about in terms of getting a form submitted so people know that you're going to be out on campus selling something. If it is even something where you're putting up a flyer saying, stop by so-and-so, buy a ticket for our upcoming event, this is when this event is, that's considered solicitation. Even if you're not directly set up anywhere, maybe it could be as simple as contact so-and-so for tickets. That would be the same, considered the same thing for solicitation. So that's important to kind of think about if you're having some events that you're going to be charging admission for, or you have a fundraiser coming up that you're trying to raise money. So keep in mind that those forms are going to need to be filled out. Moving on to the use of alcoholic beverages at your events. This is not something that I put up there because there's just this free-for-all and all of you can have alcohol at your events and it's just free-flowing on campus. That's not the case whatsoever. It's very rare that the alcohol requests are going to be approved for student events, and those student requests for alcohol, those are all going to get filtered through to the Dean of Students office. All right, and so those things get talked about in your event application. There are parts of that where you can notate that you would like to have alcohol served at your event. And so a combination of putting that on your event application, getting that talked through by the event safety committee, and then getting it approved by the Dean of Students, those are kind of the aspects of that. Some of our graduate organizations, they would love to have alcohol at some of their events and things of that sort. So we'll take that in on a case-by-case basis, but I don't say that in a way that this is your invitation to just start considering that. But if you kind of were thinking about having an event that had alcohol at it, that's kind of the process that you have to go through. It's not as simple as asking our office in student activities if you can have alcohol there or not. That's not for us to decide. It's really up for student affairs and then the Dean of Students to have at that. And then of course, getting into it, you're going to have a server's certificate for that. So like a bartending certificate would have to be purchased, and you'd have to go through that training. There's a preferred vendor, that they typically go through for those things. So it's not as simple as you just getting it donated or just having friends go out and purchase it. However you would like, there's going to be a vendor that you're going to have to take into account. And then obviously you're going to have to adhere to the different policies when it comes to serving responsibly. Depending upon the nature of the event, you may have to have an officer present just to make sure that everything is going smoothly. So it's not as simple as what it may sound. So just wanted to cover that. Moving on to food policies. So if most of you are just going to have a meeting and it's an internal thing, and so you have your event, your meeting request filled out, and you want to bring pizza, or you're going to bring some snacks or some cookies or whatever the case may be, and it's just your meeting, most likely that's going to get approved right away. There's not going to be much said about that. If you have, though, an event or a meeting and you're inviting outside people outside of your organization to there, and you're serving food from a non-UNT source. So say you're going to go to Chipotle and you're going to buy a bunch of food from there, and that's going to be what you serve. If you're going to just be doing that internally, so you're serving a bunch of food from Chipotle, but it's just your members, you're going to need to get that approved because you're bringing food from an off-campus vendor in. So you're going to need to get that approved through risk management. But if you're trying to sell food, okay, or serve food to people outside of your organization, that's going to need some further approval. So that may require a certificate from them about their safe handling. So we know that the food that they're preparing is all in a certified kitchen, no issues there. Now, if you were going to be out selling that food, most likely what's going to happen is they're going to ask you to go through the on-campus caterer. All right, so UNT has an on-campus caterer. That is the one that they're going to direct you to. In all objectivity, it's not going to replace any kind of donated items that you may receive from a restaurant in town, but their prices are right there with any of the other restaurants that you would actually buy through. So please have that be a consideration. And like I said, if you're going to have an event where you're going to be selling food or serving food, you're going to need to notate that on your event application, and risk management will be contacting you regardless, steering you in the direction that you're needing to go. So if they have an issue with the vendor that you have, and they're not cool with it, and they want you to use an on-campus provider, that's what you're going to have to do, or you may not be able to have food. All right? But if, like I said earlier, if it's just something within your organization and you're having a meeting and you're bringing in food, they're going to be more likely to approve those kinds of things. Bake sales. That's a big thing that we get asked about as far as food goes, and a lot of the meetings and a lot of the events, a lot of fundraisers, they want to be able to sell baked goods. It sounds really simple. We're just going to go out and buy a bunch of cookies from Kroger, or we're going to make them ourselves, and we're going to make them with a lot of love and give them off, and hopefully we'll make some money. That sounds great, but that most likely is not going to be approved. And the reason is because we cannot promise the person that's going to be consuming that cookie or that baked item that it was made in a certified kitchen, all right, that has a food handling certificate that's affiliated with UNT. It's a very specific policy. And so if any of you are thinking about doing a bake sale, I would tell you not to, I'm not crushing your dreams, but I would reach out to the risk management person that oversees our food to get an approval before you even go down that route, all right? And her name is Vicky Coffey. Her email address is vicky.coffey@unt.edu. And so I'll repeat that again. It's vicky.coffey@unt.edu. So vickie.coffey@unt.edu. And I would reach out to her just to talk through that before you even submit an event application, all right? And again, those things are going to come up on that event application if you're wanting to serve food or you're wanting to sell anything. And let's just say you put a bake sale on there. It may not get flagged down immediately, but it's definitely going to go right over to Vicky. All right, she's going to have to make a determination on that anyways, so you might as well be proactive and reach out to her. So camping on university property, that sounds really odd. We don't necessarily mean that you're going to have tents on campus and cook s'mores and all those things. It really means that if you're planning an event that goes overnight, and a lot of groups, time to time, they think about those kinds of things. Like we're going to do like a marathon event where we're going to go out on campus and we're going to stay up all night and raise money. And the one thing that they don't think about is there is really nobody on campus that's going to be walking by you at 3 o'clock in the morning. At least nobody that you'd want to be talking to at that point in time. And so if you're thinking about doing an event where there's some kind of fundraiser involved, where you're going to raise money, like you're going to do some kind of physical activity, for 24 hours or whatever the case may be, if you're hoping that people stop by at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm not very confident in that, so you may want to try to do something else. But just kind of understand that that's going to need to get approved through our event safety committee. All right, so if you're planning on doing any kind of an event that it requires you to be there well after hours, like deep into the morning, that's not something that I would go too far into planning until you get that approval, okay? And like I said, if you put an event application forward and it said that you were going to be out there until 3 o'clock in the morning, I promise you it's going to go to the event safety committee. All right, so just keep that in mind if you're planning on doing any kind of events like that. Free speech and public assembly on campus grounds. So the university, especially student affairs and student activities, we definitely support the right to free speech and assembly. And many of your groups have different thoughts about getting together on campus for a march or bringing awareness to a certain idea or things of that sort. Just kind of understand that if it's a large event and it's going to bring a lot of attention, or you're going to have a lot of sound and a lot of distraction on campus, that you may want to get that signed off on before you go out there. The great thing about the right to free speech and public assembly is there are multiple different spaces on campus here to where those are designated spaces that you can actually reserve and make sure that nobody's infringing on those spaces, that nobody's going to get in the way, that that if you're going to be out there from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, that you're good to go. The university understands where you're coming from on that then. Depending upon what the nature of that request was, there could be a campus police presence just for your safety. Sometimes, depending upon what the interest is, there could be a protest kind of in relation to that. So we want to make sure everything is peaceful in that regard. And nobody's getting, being disrespectful or infringing on your rights. And so please kind of understand that if you're planning on doing something on campus and it's going to be public in nature and it's going to attract a lot of people, that one of the great things about it is that you can get those approved ahead of time, and so there's not going to be any problems there. Yes, ma'am.
So anybody can do the free speech thing? Because I noticed like that preacher guy, does he even go here? Like, I'm just using him as an example.
Sure. So a lot of our public, occurrences that happen in more of a preaching standpoint, it really kind of depends on where that is. So let me give you 2 scenarios for that. If you see something going on the sidewalk as you're walking through campus, just kind of understand that that sidewalk doesn't belong to UNT. It belongs to the city of Denton. So Highland Street, Highland Avenue, you've seen all that construction going on. That's not a UNT project. That's just the city of Denton. And so you'll notice for the city of Denton what they did when they repaved, they put in a yellow bike lane. So that's a really great thing for UNT students and faculty, is to be able to have a bike lane there. But that wasn't UNT's decision to put a bike lane there, okay? And so with that being said, the city of Denton, oversees the street and they oversee the sidewalk. And so if you've seen some on-campus preaching going on, it's that they've gotten a permit through the city of Denton to be there. All right, and so they've filled out all the right paperwork to be there. Now, if you've seen it as it's getting a little further into campus, and we know where I'm talking about, is that on Highland Avenue right there, as you walk up the steps onto the library mall, if you've seen anybody get a little further up into there, they've gotten that passed with the Dean of Students Office. And so they have a right to be there. Now, if they didn't get that approved and that was going on and it drew enough of a crowd and there was amplified sound as some of those happen, it's subject to be delayed. Maybe they'll have to fill out the proper paperwork to restart. And so inherently you can be on campus doing those kinds of things, but if it attracts a large amount of attention, if it distracts from the academic nature of what campus is, so if you were right up against an academic building and there just was a large crowd that was forming and it was distracting to what was going on in the classroom, they could move you. And that's not interrupting your free speech. They're just saying, hey, we have designated spaces for this, and this is where you can be. Okay? So marketing and advertising your events. This is really important. So we've kind of gone through some of the things you need to be thinking about in terms of policy when it comes to having your event or your meeting. And a lot of time for your events, you want people to show up. Well, there's some different policies that you need to keep in mind when it comes to marketing your event, but we want to make sure that you're doing that properly so that you can get people to your event. So the first thing, and something that you see quite often are flyers, all right, and different small posters around campus. So let me get out of the way some of the things that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't take a flyer and post it to a light pole. So if you've been walking around campus and you see something taped to a light pole, that wasn't supposed to happen. They certainly didn't get approval from us to do that. And a lot of times people will just like quadruple tape and wrap the sign so no kind of wind or anything will take their sign off. That's very annoying. So if you didn't even want to heed my warning, and I'm telling you, please don't do that. Please don't use like Gorilla Tape, the stuff that just is going to take 20 minutes to take off of a light pole, because our facility services has to actually do that, and we don't want to create undue work for them. So please stay away from posting anything to light poles. Don't affix anything to some of our construction zones. So we have a new union coming, and we're all very excited about that. What that's kind of done, though, is it's put up a wall around it, a construction zone, as you walk through the main part of campus. And so while that has kind of narrowed the walkway, it's created a lot of visibility and things for people to post to. Please don't do that. The moral of the story, regardless if you post on a light pole or you put it on a construction zone, those things all get taken off and then they get brought to our office. So we're made aware of those things, and we'll reach out and we'll take care of it, okay? And so we don't want that to compromise any of the events that you're going to have forthcoming. We want to work with you to get your event out there, but we just want it to happen in the right way. Stay away from chalking on campus as well. As much as we would love that avenue for you to go and get your word out, what's better than somebody walking down campus, their heads down, probably because they're texting, and they just happen to catch your event on the pavement. I would love for us to have such a colorful campus to where there's a sea of red and blue and green chalk all over campus just saying what we have going on, but unfortunately the university prohibits that, and so we really want to stay away from doing those kinds of things. And that I'm going to be made aware of that as well, and so just stay away from those kinds of things. Things you can do, and that we really suggest you do when it comes to flyers, is in every campus building on here, you're going to see bulletin boards. Some of them are going to be open. The open bulletin boards mean you don't have to ask anybody to put it up. You can just go and put up your flyer. You're going to be competing with some different folks though, and I want you to know that you're going to be right up there with the, hey, I'm subleasing my apartment, grab a flyer. And so people may not look at those open bulletin boards as much. And so I just want you to keep that in mind. And also, with the ease that you've put it up, somebody has the same ease in taking it down. You know, there's no rules when it comes to, you know, how long your sign can stay up on an open bulletin board. Unfortunately, if they want their sign up, they could take yours down. And so I think if you have some flyers to spare, I think putting them up on open bulletin boards is a great idea. Just keep in mind maybe the downside to that. There are also, in most every campus building, closed bulletin boards, ones that have covers on them that have a key. Those are going to be accessible through your building contacts. And so here in the library, if they had a bulletin board that was closed off, you would simply go talk to somebody in library services to see if they could, you know, put up your flyer. Yeah. In different campus buildings, the same rules are going to apply. You know, you're going to want to talk to that building manager, that building rep, to see if they're going to allow you to post that sign, okay? In Stovall Hall right now, as it currently kind of stands, there's not really an opportunity for that. Our on-campus entities, they really have the signage space for those kinds of things. It's not really for the student orgs to do, unfortunately. In the future, so this upcoming fall, that hopefully is going to change. And so then we'll be getting into an era of more of a digital signage kind of thing. So they'll take your flyer and hopefully put it on all of their digital signage boards that are going to be in the union. It's going to be a really great opportunity. Yes?
You know those ones that are, the signs that are in the, you know, when you're walking, who create those? Do people create those through the eco printing? The pick signs? What are they called? The signs that are in the ground? Like,
the lawn signs.
Yeah, lawn signs.
Yep. So lawn signs, and that's another really great possibility for you to market. You can go to DesignWorks. So DesignWorks is located in Stovall Hall. They're a campus entity that will work with your student organization. They'll be able to help you create, what that flyer is. But if you already had a flyer, all right, or a graphic or something announcing your event, you could take it to them, and they will actually make that into a lawn sign for you. They can make it into poster-sized things. They could make a full-on banner for you if they really wanted to. And so those services are available to you. And so you just need to take your flash drive. All right, you need to put that graphic on a flash drive, take it over to DesignWorks. They'll talk through with you. They'll fill out an order, and they'll give you a price for that. And you can kind of go forward with DesignWorks. But that is definitely an option for you. With the lawn signs, just kind of keep in mind that if you're going to try to put up a lawn sign for any longer than 2 weeks, that sign's going to most likely just vanish after a time. And so you're going to need to be very careful about where you put those signs. Typically, anytime you see a large line of lawn signs, you know that you're allowed to be there. Okay? Those are the high visibility areas where you're getting the most traffic. So if you see a bunch of lawn signs somewhere, it's not because we just want to put lawn signs wherever we can. It's because we know that they're going to get the most foot traffic coming through there. So my suggestion to you, if you wanted to make lawn signs, is to do it through DesignWorks. They'll provide the stakes for you as well. Put them in spaces where you see an abundance of signs. I mean, they're there for a reason. I believe there was a question in the back.
I was about to ask about the pricing of the charges.
For the pricing, yeah. So if you go through DesignWorks, they are going to charge you, but there is a discounted rate for you as a student to go through them, and so it's not a heavy it's not a heavy cost by any means. I think it's very reasonably priced for the work. But they do all kinds of sorts of different projects. So if you didn't have an idea whatsoever about what you wanted your your flyer to look like, they can walk you through that process. But if you already had somebody that created a logo and you know what you want, you just need it printed, they can do that very simply as well. So they're a really great resource for you to check out as far as lawn signs go, really for any of your flyers. Now, if you want to just, black and white flyers, you're going to hand them out, wherever you could. You should come by our office in Stovall Hall 117. As a registered student organization, we can make up to 100 copies for you per semester. All right, all you have to do is bring in the original copy. We'll go in and we'll make as many copies as you need, up to 100. And it doesn't have to just be for one event. We'll keep track of that. So if you have multiple events throughout the semester and you only want to use 20 copies at a time, we can definitely do that for you free of charge. So that takes some of the printing costs out of it. We don't do colored copies. So just understand that our only capability for you at this time is black and white copies. But if you're good with that, then we can do that. As far as handing out flyers, be very aware, while nobody is officially going to tell you this, I don't want our student orgs to contribute to a lot of mess within our buildings. And so, sure, there's tables and chairs in the library. I don't support you just kind of throwing down a bunch of your flyers on the tables and kind of muddying up that. I don't suggest, if you're in one of the campus buildings, unless you've gotten approval to do that through maybe one of your academic buildings that you're associated with. I don't want us to be associated with we're just going to throw flyers wherever we can because we're very, very desperate for people to show up. I don't want us to go down that route. So be thinking about that if you're going to plan on handing out mass amounts of flyers. Just do it in a respectful way and one that we know is the right thing to do. Tabling opportunities. That is a great way to market your event, and one that a lot of people don't do. Tabling is free. In fact, it's very easy to do. So with the weather getting nicer, cross your fingers, you could be out on campus here, outside of the library, in the library mall, different places on campus. You can set up a table and hand out flyers for whatever event or program that you have coming up, even if it was to get more members in your group. And that can be easily arranged through our event and scheduling services. Again, I've talked about them earlier, but their office is located in Stovall Hall. It's right next door to student activities. And they'll have you fill out a form, they'll get it scheduled, and you can come by and grab your table from Stovall Hall and a couple chairs. You can go out there and you can market your events that way. All right, and that's very, very simple. If you wanted to do any kind of other tabling requests, there are some opportunities for you to do that. So let's just say you want to be over in the BLB. You would contact somebody through your event application that you're doing a tabling request. And that person's going to get back in touch with you and set up a time that you can be in the BLB atrium area with a table. Other buildings that you want to be in, my opinion and my recommendation for you is to contact that building rep and ask if you can be out in like their lobby area. Because we only can book like classrooms when it comes to academic spaces. We really can't book like the lobby of one of those buildings. And so it would be best to contact somebody within that academic building to see if you could be there for any stretch of time. All right. Even with some of the residence halls, if you wanted to be there, your best bet is to contact that residence hall directly. All right, so that's with tabling opportunities. And again, really great time. If you are free from 12 to 2 and let's just say you're outside of the food pavilion area, I mean, think about how many people could be potentially walking by your table. And so if your real goal is to get as many people as possible to know about the event, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't, set up a table opportunity to do that when it's that simple and it doesn't cost you anything. So keep that in mind. Social media. So if you haven't gotten involved with Twitter, which I think all of us these days are involved with Twitter, but if you're not following us yet, and you can do this right now as I speak, whether you're in person here or you're watching this on YouTube, you can follow us at UNT Activities. And the great thing with following us and student activities on Twitter is that you're open for all sorts of different contests. So we do giveaways all the time. So I'm just talking to you in way of just you're a student here and you follow us. We do Freebie Friday. We do all sorts of different contests that you can follow along with. So there's that benefit. The other thing that we've recently started doing is we want to know what events you have going on. And so all you have to do is tweet at us at UNT Activities. Hey, we have this event going on in this building at 4 o'clock. Everyone's invited. What we'll do is we'll retweet that out to the thousands of followers that we hopefully have. All right? So it's so simple. And again, it costs you nothing. We will gladly tell people about the event that you have going on. And so this is something new that we're going with, and I am really actually very excited about it. We have a few groups that are already doing it, and I think it's just a really great way for us to collaborate. And again, use your own members and all of their followers to market your event. So strengthen numbers. If you have 100 people in your organization, the chances are pretty high that a majority of them are using social media. And so what you should be doing is a dedicated campaign within your organization to say, look, we have this event coming up in a week. We need everybody, all right, to take this graphic that we've made, and you need to either tweet that out or put it up on Facebook, put it up on Instagram, whatever the case may be, but be very dedicated about it. I wouldn't start promoting things on social media like weeks in advance, because we have short attention spans, my gosh. You've probably tuned me out by now, but what you need to be thinking about is, all right, I have an event a week out. I'm thinking that people are going to start making plans around this time. Maybe this would be a really good time, to put this out. And, incentivize some people. Maybe the first however many people that say they're going to attend the event, maybe they get an added, bonus by attending. If you're in that kind of position to be able to do something like a giveaway or whatever the case may be, or a discount to something. I really wouldn't advise you, though, to start promoting anything further out than like 2 weeks, because that's going to get caught in the shuffle of everything else that's coming through people's feeds and different social media outlets. So keep that in mind with social media in general. What you shouldn't do, all right, is put a bunch of hashtags. Don't put a bunch of addresses that people can reach you at. Like, we have some events sometimes where there are maybe 5 or 6 different people you could get in touch with for the event. That's confusing to people, right? They're going to think that that's not a credible event whatsoever. It would be really nice if you said, our association is hosting this event, contact so-and-so for more information. Or reach us at this, address for more information. Don't put like 5 or 6 places that somebody can find something. They're going to tune you out. They're going to think it's spam, quite frankly, or that you don't know what you're up to, and that they don't want to attend that event. So please keep that in mind when it comes to social media. The timing in which you put things out on social media is definitely important. I wouldn't advise you putting out an announcement on the weekend, okay? I would stay away from like Friday and Saturday. People really are not, as weird as it sounds, because they have more free time on the weekends, people really aren't checking those feeds as much as they do in the weekday. And I get it. Some of you might be doing that right now. You might be multitasking by looking through your Twitter feed right now, or your Facebook, or you're doing that in class. Heaven forbid, I'm sorry. But we are multitaskers. We can't focus in very easily on one thing, and so most likely we're checking these things in a Monday through Friday afternoon kind of sense. Maybe we pick that back up on Sunday nights when things kind of slow down. So keep that in mind as far as your timing goes when you're going to be sending these things out. Your attendance at some of our major events is definitely important. So we have Mean Green Fling that is a week before the fall semester begins. If you're not there promoting about joining your organization or all the great things that you have planned for the fall semester or whatever the case may be, you are doing an incredible disservice to your organization. We get something like 9,000 people to show up to Mean Green Fling. And we have a whole slew of student organization tables. I mean, aside from like seeing some different vendors and maybe getting a t-shirt and some food, the student org tables are it. I mean, that's kind of the main attraction. So why you wouldn't be there, I really don't understand. If it's even just to get more people to show up to your events, then it's worth it. So that's one. The Welcome Back Bash, that just happened in January. We had 70 student organizations that were there. Again, I don't know why you wouldn't want to be there. You know, we had 600 people that showed up to that event. That's 600 people that you can say, hey, join my organization. But at this point in the time of the year, you've probably established a lot of the events and the programs you're doing. So it's great. It's like, not only do I have 600 people that could potentially be seeing my organization for what we are, but I have potentially 600 people that I could share some of our upcoming events with. Again, I don't understand why people wouldn't want to be there for that. Homecoming, University Day, all kinds of events that we do throughout the year most likely has a student org connection to it, where we want student orgs to help. We want student orgs to assist with something. That could be as simple as helping with move-in. There are so many events on the university calendar that we need student orgs to help with, and so why not use us for something? Use that platform for something. You could use that and say, yes, I'm doing a service for the university, but hey, while I have you here, here's this event we have coming up. Maybe you'd be interested in coming by. So you're forming personal relationships with these people because you're helping them, and they're going to be more apt to be like, yeah, you know, you're a nice person. I enjoyed, you know, whatever help you gave to me. Yeah, I would be, you know, wanting to check this out. So just be thinking about that. UNT bulk mail. I don't know if anyone realizes this, but student activities can send out mass emails on your behalf. So if you've ever gotten an email in your email box that said, come out and enjoy blah, blah, blah event, that person didn't do that themselves. They came through me in my office. And so what you need to be looking for to make this happen is you need to go on OrgSync and you need to type in Eagle Mail. It's 2 words, Eagle Mail, and the form will show up. Your president needs to be filling this out. We're only going to send it out if it comes from the president. Now, if you're in a very large organization, and if you had a position of like communications director or something to that equivalent, then I'll consider sending it out on that person's behalf. So keep that in mind about who can send. And it's an easy to fill out form. It says, what is your email address so that people can get in touch, you know, with you if they have questions? What are the details of the event? When's it happening? And you can actually include your graphic. And so if you've created a flyer, we can put that in with that email. And so it's great. We can send it out as broadly as all graduate students and all undergraduate students. We can be so specific to say we only want to send it out to the College of Arts and, you know, of Education, or we only want to send this out to business majors. I mean, we can get very specific for you if you'd like, but for the majority of your events, you would like anybody to show up that's interested. And so we can send that out a week in advance of your event. So be thinking about that. Do you know how many students go here? I mean, it's a lot. I think our student population is around 36,000 students. Now, are 36,000 students going to open that email? I would be lying if I said that yes, all of them are. I don't have the numbers on that, but let's just take a fraction of 36,000. It's a pretty high number, right? Again, I think a lot of people don't realize that that service is available to them, but please use it. Now, you can't send out multiple mass emails for the same event, so that's why we're only wanting it a week out in advance, okay? We can send it out the day before, you just have to let us know, but only one email per event is going to go out. But there are some groups that they'll do that for every event that they do, and that's fine. What we can't send out mass emails for is just recruitment of members. So if it's just an interest meeting like, hey, come out to so-and-so and learn more about our organization and join our group, we can't send out mass emails about that. But if you had an open event and it said, look, we're hosting this event or this program, anybody is welcome to attend, feel free to come out, and then we'll send that out and we'll have no problem doing that. So think about the bulk mail. And then word of mouth. This kind of goes hand in hand with the social media part of it, but use the strength of your numbers, okay? So it would be beyond me if the people in your organization didn't know that you had an event coming up. You need to be very dedicated with those people to say, look, we have this event coming up, spread the word. I don't care how you do it, tell as many people as possible. A lot of you are connected to academic programs. Talk to your professors and say, look, we have this event coming up. Would you mind maybe sharing it with the people in your class? You have people in your major that, look, if you're going to be in this class, could you just maybe ask the professor if you had like a couple minutes to just talk about your event? It's worth a shot. So be thinking about those kinds of things and how that relates to getting the word out about your events. All right, so the event application. So it's very, very simple to access the event application, all right? And it's on studentactivities.unt.edu. And so if you're following along, you can go to that website. All right, so you'll be at the home page. And to the as you're looking at it, the right side of the page, you will see our quick links. At the very bottom of our quick links is the event application. So you'll click there. All right, so it'll take you to the event application page. And so I'm not going to go over through this right now, but it would be very important for you to read through all the fine print here. And it's not so fine, it's actually the majority of this page. All right, so be reading through the home page of the event application, okay? It gives you all of the information that you'll need as far as how to book a space. But for the purposes of filling one out, you'll click the link up at the top. It's going to take you, again, to some more things that you need to be reading over. And it'll say, please note the following and agree by submitting the form below. So please read those things over. And by you logging in and filling it out, you understand what those things are. And so you'll just use your EUID to log in. All right, so we'll just do a sample test. So event title, we'll do Welcome Back Bash. So it's, now I should say, if you're just filling out this for a meeting, you could just put your organization and say, this is our bi-weekly meeting or our monthly meeting or whatever the case may be in your event title. What is your full organization name? So I wouldn't be able to do that, Student Activity Center, because some of the people on campus that are booking your spaces, they're not familiar with your acronym. Okay, so spell it out. So you are Student Activities. Is this a Greek organization affiliated with the Office of Greek Life or governed by one of the 4 Greek councils? You have to answer that. That's a mandatory question. No. If you click yes, if you are a Greek organization, that just means that the folks from Greek Life are going to be made aware of it and they're going to be involved in the process. All right, it's just to streamline that process for them. Are you sponsoring this event with another organization or entity? We're going to say no. If you said yes, it's going to ask you to list what that organization is. Your event contact person. This must be a currently enrolled UNT student. This does not have to be the president, so I'm aware that in some of your organizations, somebody other than you as the president could be running an event, so make sure it's this person. So the event contact email, please get this right. So take the time to make sure that the email address is correct, because we're going to be communicating with the event contact person. So if there's a problem with the event application or something isn't available, we're going to be reaching out to that person. So make sure that that's correct. Make sure that the phone number is correct. President's name. Now, if you happen to be the president and you happen to be the event contact, sorry for the redundancy, you're going to have to fill it out twice. Okay? So, let's do that again.
Does that mean that you'll receive the emails more than once as well?
No. So, your event contact is not going to receive automated emails. They would just receive an email if we needed to get in contact with you.
Okay.
Your president email is very important because once you get done and you submit this event application, there are 2 people that are going to get automated emails. The first person is the president. The second person is the advisor. So in this scenario, if you happen to be the president that's filling this form out, keep in mind you're still going to get that automated email and you're still going to need to approve it. That's just the way it goes. Don't discard that. Don't be of the mindset, well, this is kind of silly. I created the event application, so I, of course, approve the event. We understand that you do, but that's part of the process. It's an automated email. It comes to your email inbox almost immediately. You'll just need to hit approve, okay? So make sure that the email address is correct. Make sure that the phone number is correct in case we can't get a hold of the event contact person and we need to go to the next best source, and that's the president. Your UNT faculty staff advisor name. Please make sure that this is your primary advisor. Some of you may have a primary and a secondary advisor. Make sure this is your primary. All right. Make sure that this email address is correct. Your advisors may not be as in tune with what's going on in your organization as your officers are. That's just a reality of it. And so it's not inherent that they know that you're having an event or a meeting. So my advice to you before you even go through this process is to let them know, hey, I'm going to be filling out an event application today. You're going to get an automated email. When you get that email, can you please click approve? The important thing is please get the email address correct. One of our number 1 issues with the timeliness of processing your request is that either the president email or the advisor email was incorrect. And so we can't actually move forward. No booking entity can move forward booking your event until both the president and the advisor approve it. So please keep that in mind as you're going through this process to be thorough and accurate. So the event basics. Is this a one-time reservation request? So this would be for a lot of your special events. If this is for a meeting, you're going to do more of a series or a reoccurring reservation request. What kind of an event type is it? Are you planning a concert, a cookout, a dance, so on and so forth? Please list and click correctly what it is. The requested location. All right, so the key here is to kind of cast a wide net. So I really would not advise for you to say, well, I really only want this event in, at the Gateway Center. The Gateway Center may not be available, all right, and so you need to be flexible and open to some other things. So maybe you say, well, our number one option would be the Gateway Center, but we would be all right if it was in Bonson Gym. And so those would be your two options. And I think it's really important to have more than one option. Now what I don't advise you to do is say, well, I really don't care where this event is, and so I'm just going to rapid fire, I'm going to click all the ones I can. All right? What it's going to come down to is that all of these spaces have different requirements to it. So I can promise you that unless you're bringing in one of the biggest events possible on campus, you're probably not going to be reserving Apogee Stadium, which is our football stadium. The auditorium has a fee to use it, okay? So if you don't want to incur any fees, just understand that about the auditorium. Bonson Gym, a lot of people don't know where Bonson Gym is. It's over near the rec center. Let's just say that was your last option and you were doing rapid fire and you didn't really want to be there at the end of the day, guess where you're going? You're going to go to Bonson Gym, and that's because you cast such a wide net, kind of you weren't paying attention and you were just clicking wherever you wanted because you wanted to rush through it. And then you get an email from us saying, you're all confirmed for Bonson Gym for this date. Please don't email us in response and say, I didn't really want that. That's not really working for me. Because we put you there because you clicked it. So please keep that in mind. So classroom space, a lot of you really want classroom space. And that's fine, a lot of you have events going on, meetings. So please make sure to click classroom. When you click classroom, it'll automatically activate this field to say yes. Then it opens up all the classroom spaces on campus that we can book. Now there are some buildings on campus that we don't book, that the only people that book that space are the building themselves, all right? So you'll just have to keep that in mind depending upon the building that you want to be in. But for the majority of the classrooms on campus, we can book the following. We can book the art building, the BLB, chemistry building, Curry Hall. You may not want to be out at Discovery Park unless you're an engineering group, because that would take you way off of this campus. So keep that in mind. So you'll select the option that you want. If you have a preferred room number, please let us know, because that's the first place we'll go. If you say, I really want to be in the BLB 115, we're going to look there first. And if that's not available to you and you're fine with just anywhere in the BLB, we're going to look there. If those two options aren't available to you, we'll look wherever else you chose. All right, but for a lot of you, you have a preferred room. And we want to know about that, and we'll look there first. How will you market this event? We just want to know what you're going to be doing in case we need to reach out to you and ask, hey, we see that you're doing a flyer. Can we see that beforehand just to make sure it's okay to go out? If you're going to get sent to the event safety committee, they're going to want to know how you're marketing the event. And most likely they're going to want a proof beforehand. So keep that in mind. Requested dates and times. So put your first choice here, and it'll allow you to put up to 4 choices. All right, as far as when you want to have the event, what day, you know, what month, what day. And so you'll go up to 4 choices. That's where being flexible really helps. You know, don't be so sold on just one date when you're planning these things, because, you know, with the way availability is on campus, we can never ensure that you're going to get your prime times, you know, space and date. So please be flexible and at least be open to having a second date and time. When are you setting up? And so this really goes into the planning. So how long is it going to take you to set up your event? And so please keep that in mind. When is your event actually starting? When's it actually ending? And then how much time do you need to actually break down the event? Because we don't want to schedule something right on top of you so that they're pushing you out of the building. We would never want that. So please keep that in mind. Add clarity to your reservation request. So some of you might want to do a conference and you want one building but you need multiple rooms in that building. Please let us know in this space. So again, I bring up the BLB. So if you said, look, we're trying to do a conference or we're trying to do a leadership workshop and we need 3 rooms, keep in mind that we're going to need to know what those 3 rooms are, and this is where you would put it. Event needs, so food options. Please be forthcoming about this. We want to do food from a restaurant or out off-campus catering company. We're going to use the UNT dining. It's prepackaged food, so we're just going to bring in a bunch of packaged cookies for our meeting. And if it's other, they're going to allow you to put in there what it is. If you're not serving food, please select that you're not serving food. Drink options. Prepackaged, that just means are you bringing in, you know, bottles of soda, bottle of water, things of that sort, so click there. Mixed, that does not mean like mixed alcoholic drinks, that just means like Gatorade or, you know, lemonade, whatever the case may be, if that's the case. Alcohol, if you select this tab, and again, this is just if your event, as you're planning it, you want to do this, that's going to trigger the event safety committee, and they're going to be talking with you in the Dean of Students office for approval. Are you not serving drinks? Are you doing any kind of physical activity? So a lot of you like to do, you know, fundraising, you know, flag football tournaments or like a 3-on-3 basketball tournament or a dance, any kind of thing that has to do with physical activity. Please select that. Solicitation, so this goes in with what I was talking about. Are you going to actively be selling things? Are you going to be handing out things, asking for donations? Please select that there. Are you handling hazardous materials? So is your organization working with chemicals at all? Are you planning to, you know, use fire at all? Are you going to do body paint or you know, face paint, whatever the case may be? Henna tattoos. So in the face paint and the henna tattoos, just kind of keep in mind that there are different chemicals that are made with henna tattoos and different face and body paint. They're going to ask that you use natural products for that so that there's no irritations for people. One of the last parts of this, are you inviting more than your student organization members? If you're at all thinking about inviting people from the outside or, you know, faculty or staff, or is this open to everybody, you would just select yes. Anticipate a number of UNT students, so if you're going to do an event and you think that 200 people are going to be, you know, come, put 200. If it's a number of faculty staff, maybe your faculty or staff advisor is going to show up, maybe you just select 2. Are you inviting other people from different schools, from like the Denton community? Maybe it's a big event that you have going on. Please be forthcoming about that. Maybe your number is at 50. And then it's just simple math. It's 200 plus 2 plus 50. So 257 is your number. Are you expecting or inviting minors? Some of you may have some kind of an event where you're inviting you know, minors 17 and under. This does not include our TAMS students. So if you're a TAMS student, you're actually considered a UNT student, so you're not factoring that in. But let's just say that you were inviting high school students to your event, you would need to select that. Are you expecting or inviting a guest speaker? If you select yes, just please put it down in here. This part for additional information, please just put as much as you know about your event in here. Our people that book events, they're not mind readers. They're not going to know exactly what you're thinking for your event, so put as much detail as you can in this area. And so once you're all done, all right, you will come down here and hit submit. It'll go directly to the president and the advisor in an automated email saying, do you approve this event? Let's just say that they hit select, then we can start working on your event. But we cannot see the event, we can't work on it until that is both approved. So please keep that in mind. If it's been a week or so and you haven't heard from us, please contact us and we'll be able to go in and see what the issue is. Most commonly it is that either the president or the advisor have not approved the event. Not to kind of over talk about that, but that's our #1 reason for the delay in processing events. So keep that in mind, all right? So that is the event application. Be proactive on the timing of it. So if you understand that there's an event coming up in a couple months, please just put it in now. You know, the sooner that we can book that event, the further that you can actually go in the planning of it. All right? We don't want to wait till the last minute. We don't want to be a week out and say, oh, I have this event and I want 100 people to attend. That's not going to happen. That's going to be very difficult to pull off. All right? So be proactive on the timing of it. Like I said, make sure the advisor knows of your event in advance so that they're prepared to approve your request. And then have patience. If you're at the beginning of a semester, understand that we are sifting through so many event applications and we get to you in the order that we've received it. There are just going to be different times where it's going to be busier than others. If you put in an event application in the middle of February, we're going to be quicker about that than if you did it at the end of January. Keep the following in mind, and I'm just going to go through these questions really quick, and they're really self-explanatory. Will there be physical activities? Are you serving food or selling food? Do you want to serve alcohol? Do you plan on this event being a big event? Are you inviting people from other schools or minors? Are you bringing in outside vendors or entertainment? Have you advertised this as an accessible event? Accessibility for a lot of our events, I would love for all of our student organizations to promote a nature of accessibility for all. And that's as simple as at the bottom of your flyer or your communications that you're sending out to people to say, if you have a disability accommodation, please contact so-and-so. That is going to be so welcoming to the community. That person's going to reach out to you and talk through what their needs are. Who better to understand a accessibility request than the person themselves? Just be open-minded with them, talk through, you know, what kind of a setup it is, ask what they're going to need, and go from there. But be thinking about that. So I very much promote the idea of having an event plan. And a lot of you, this is going to be so simple to do. And maybe you don't do this for like a typical meeting, but if you're going to do an event, I really suggest having this as just one of your files that you keep. And your event plan, in my opinion, should list the following. Who's your contact person? This could be great for anybody from a vendor that you have coming in to the department that you're maybe running this through. We need to know who to contact. Who's the best point of contact? This should even be great within your own organization. Some of your organizations could be so big that you may not inherently know who's running that event. And so if you can spell that out to everybody, for this event, contact so-and-so. Your expected attendance. So if you expected 200 people there, that's a great thing to know because that might affect where you're going to do the event. Maybe the level of volunteers that you need. Maybe the amount of food or drink that you brought in or you ordered. And then what was your actual attendance? So you always want to know how many people attended the event. So the proof, though, is not just in the numbers. If you looked at that event and you said, you know, we wanted 200, we got 150, that's great. You know, we got 150 people. Are you interested in understanding why you didn't meet your target number? Are you going to be able to ask some questions to maybe see what could have been done to maybe improve that number? Volunteer assignments, that's always great to have on your event plan, just so everybody can understand what their responsibilities are. So when that event's happening, make sure that who you enlisted to be there is there right when you want them to be and where you want them to be. The itinerary of the event, just so everybody is familiar with what's going on. If you have multiple different things going on in a given event, it's always great to make sure that that's in a timely way so that you're not overshooting the event. If you're only reserved for 6 to 8 and you've packed full your event, you don't want that rolling over to 8:30 because we can't guarantee a space longer than what we've booked you for. So keep that in mind. Risk management, again, this is so big. Make sure that if it's physical activity that you've gone through the necessary steps. And again, Event Safety Committee will make some recommendations for you on what to do in that regard. But if, heaven forbid, something went wrong in your event and you didn't have documentation about the event at all, you're going to be more liable for those things. And so please keep that in mind, that it's really good to be talking about your event in way of risk management. If you're doing an outside event, are you going to call it, for lightning? Well, yeah, absolutely you would. To have that in writing, that's an identified plan, that's very important. Contingency plans. So it's really great to have a plan B if plan A kind of falters. And that's not just on the whole event. You all have many different aspects of your event, and you need to be able to roll with the punches. So if your ideal plan is not working, what's your backup strategy? Failure is not an option. Be adaptable. Say, look, this isn't going, we got this, we're good. Be thinking about contingency plans. The Event Safety Committee, I will just say real quick about the Event Safety Committee. They are not in place to cause undue harm to your organizations. They don't make recommendations that are so out there that they don't make sense. They are in place to make sure that your event is going to be as safe and policy driven as possible. If you're going to do an event where you're having hundreds of people show up, most likely they may have a recommendation that campus police may have to be there for security purposes. That costs money. Just keep in mind, it's kind of the price of doing such a large event. The recommendations are not guides. They're not, hey, we really wish you could do that. It'd be kind of nice if you could do that. They're going to want to make sure that you're actually doing what they recommend, because they wouldn't recommend it if they didn't want to see that it happened. The representation, just so everybody kind of understands that it's kind of wide-ranging. You have representation from the police department, student affairs, risk management, the booking entity themselves. So let's say you're doing an event at the auditorium. The person that books the auditorium is going to be there. And then from student activities, so myself. And so we're going to have a meeting with you. They're probably not going to take any longer than 10 or 15 minutes. And we're going to go through your event and make sure that's all taken care of. And then, very rarely is there going to be such a change in your event that it's not going to look like your event anymore. Most of the time are very subtle little things for you to add to it, okay? And the last thing to think about, have some goals for your event. A lot of your events have to do with getting more people exposed to what you're doing. Maybe getting more members long term. Maybe it was to raise money. Maybe it was to do some good within the community. What are your goals? It would not hurt, as a leadership group, to sit down and really think about, what is the point in what we're doing? And the important thing about goals is that you can keep your eye on that all the way up to the event and through the event. That you're not going to get sidetracked because you have these goals in place. And you can form objectives with that. Our goal is this. And to accomplish that goal, it is going to be by this, this, and this. And then hold yourself accountable to those goals and objectives. The next thing is, what are you doing with the people that show up? Are you having them sign in? Are you taking down their email addresses? Are you trying to get some contact information out of them? I mean, what's the goal of your event? Is it just, oh, we're going to do a one-time event and we'll never see these people again? Or is the goal of your event to have some kind of a sustained, engagement with your group? This is something that we here at UNT, we focus in on all the time. Is not only is it important for people to show up, but how can we maintain their engagement moving forward? And so you need to be thinking about that in the same way. And then last, do you want to do the same event year after year? I would say not. I would hope that the events that we run and that I run specifically evolve over time. Because I'm not afraid to say, look, what worked and what didn't work. The things that didn't work or that didn't work as well as we thought, those should be subject to change. And that's not a knock on hard work. That doesn't take away the accomplishment. It just says, look, we did really well. We want to do better. So things that you could do, and again, this is about engaging the people that attend the event. It's as simple as emailing the people that went to your event with a small assessment. How would you rate this event? Would you come to an event in the future? What are some ways to better our event for you? 3 questions, boom, that gives you all the information you'll need. And then review that assessment. Like, do some objective reviewing. Don't get your feelings hurt. It's not a personal thing. People have different preferences. You can discard some because they're unreasonable, and you can take into account the ones that are really on point. Then you need to implement the changes. Right? Assessment and review are no good. They're a waste of time unless you do something about it. Don't just have meetings to have a meeting. Don't just say we're going to review these things and get better if you're not willing to get better. And then the last thing, have an amazing next event. It's really that simple. All right, so that is the conclusion of Event Planning 101. I appreciate you being here for the close to 90 minutes. There's a lot to go over when it comes to events. And hopefully you got something out of this. And does anybody have any questions? Yep.
If space too much reserve is not on the event application, is there a way, and we know how to reserve it ourselves because people work in the building or whatever, can we do that and then mark that on the event application?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can't book everything. And so what's going to happen is if you book it through that person that books the space, most likely they'll just be able to book it for you. And they may make us aware. You don't necessarily have to fill out an event application if it's like a meeting or something that you're doing. If that booking entity is doing it themselves and it's something we can't book. Now, if it's an event, going on, and you don't see that listed on the event application, please contact Student Activities, and we'll walk you through that because we still want to know that an event's happening. And we're still going to want to talk through the very things that we just got done talking about. So that's a really good question. Yeah.
I know it's a case-by-case basis, but given the fact that we have already let our advisor know, or our president know, and they know to go ahead and approve it as soon as possible, what is an estimated average time of how long it takes before we can get an event approved if we don't have any extreme special circumstances?
A day.
Okay.
That's kind of where having some flexibility and some patience is good, and just some understanding of our schedule. So at the beginning of the fall semester, August, you know, the end of August, that's rough. I mean, that might take a week because we're getting so many events coming in and we process them in the order in which we receive them. So it might be a little longer there. If there's not anything, you know, fancy about your event and it's kind of the middle of the semester, you could put in an event in the morning and there could be a possibility that you'd hear back by the afternoon, if not by the beginning of the next morning. It doesn't take us very long to book them because we have ample staff that's solely what they do. But with, you know, 5,000 events on a given calendar year, it just kind of depends on when that request is coming in. Any other questions? Yes?
In terms of the advertising, I know like we have all these options, but would you like recommend like one? I mean, do you have like any? I mean, do you think there's like a best way like to advertise among all of these options?
Yeah. So the two best ways that I would say, if you could only do two things as far as advertising, would be tabling. So getting out on campus and tabling. And then the bulk mail. And the reason I say that is because you're going to get the most traffic that way. With bulk mail, as I said earlier, 36,000 students here at UNT. If you just took a fraction of that number that even opened up the email, that's going to be exponentially more than what you would get anywhere else. With the tabling, depending upon when you do it, where you do it, you're going to get a lot of foot traffic coming through. Flyers, posting them up and things of that sort, those are helpful, but you're really, that's subject to somebody just coming by and being very, you know, targeted on what's on the bulletin boards. So, I mean, the other two things would be what I would go first. Anything else? All right, well, thank you so much for attending Event Planning 101. We'll have other workshops going on. Just keep a lookout on your email. And thanks, everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to come up afterwards.